Been a while, hasn't it? As far as this comment, I get what you're feeling, but what choice do we have? Let me give you the speech that Coach Walls can't because of politics and the illusion of decorum he has to maintain. Trump and the MAGA right want you to roll over for them.
Well, 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 Sockfur, we meet again. Don't be fooled, everybody. This guy right here in the leather pup mask and military fatigues is the same person that was in this colorful raccoon fursuit from the first video I made. This character is called Breacher. Probably because he somehow thinks he is EOD or thinks he would be the one smashing open a door in a raid. I got news for you, Breacher. The guy that bashes in the door isn't the one that goes in first. He stands outside while the entry team begins to sweep and clear. And this time he is back to tell you something important. I'm sure this will be informative. Let's sit back and watch. Try not to laugh too hard while he is speaking. You might miss many of his later jokes when you do.
Been a while, hasn't it? As far as this comment, I get what you're feeling, but what choice do we have? Let me give you the speech that Coach Walls can't because of politics and the illusion of decorum he has to maintain.
I love how he calls Tim Walls Coach Walls. Tim Walls is supposed to be a football coach after all. I mean, despite claiming in a faked live streaming session playing football against AOC, you know, the one where he had his controller off and said AOC could run a pick six like it was a play in the game. I guess it is still better than calling him Sergeant Major since, well, he never actually attained that rank before he ditched his soldiers before they deployed and failed to finish the Sergeant Major's Academy as well, two conditions that needed to be met for him to retire as that rank. He talks about how decorum is keeping Tim Walls from saying anything after the loss. Yeah, or, maybe he knows these overblown fears are just the maddening thoughts of a delusional person that thinks the world is ending over a presidential election. Trump won in 2016, and despite not becoming an absolute dictator then, somehow he is going to do that now?
Trump and the MAGA right want you to roll over for them. They need you to feel helpless. They need you to think you can't stop them. They're counting on citizens to hold the bucket of KY for them as they Yeah, I know Trump is straight. You tell him someone's he'll want to him.
Then he begins talking about how Trump and the right want them to roll over and stop fighting. As if that was ever going to happen. The left have been playing obstructionist against Trump since he became a candidate in 2015.
Racist, sexist, anti-gay, take your hate and go away. Racist, sexist, anti-gay, take your hate and go away.
And back then, the left was laughing at it. Late-night commentators and pundits kept thinking it was a joke and that there was no way he would ever win.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it.
And then when he did win, they immediately tried to block every single piece of legislation he tried unless it benefited them. Then he loses the election in 2020 and they think he is done for. Until they realize he was running again, and at that point they tried criminal case after criminal case to keep him from running. But they still kept laughing at Trump and the Republicans when it became clear that Trump was the nominee once again. That laughter became frenzied screams after Biden had his disastrous debate with Trump.
Elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
They then ignored every single Democrat primary voter by selecting Harris to be the nominee, and now are in complete turmoil as she is lost by a larger amount than Biden had won. She didn't even outperform Biden in any county across the country.
Put this on the big screen because this is important. If we give up without a fight, the powers that be will learn that we will happily accept whatever they want to do to us. Whatever freedoms we surrender in the opening moves, we don't get that back, not anytime soon. If we organize and push back, they have to question if it's worth the price. Be that in manpower, money, or international repercussions when every other country embargoes American-made products due to human rights violations.
But Breacher here starts saying how to win, because we have to when the world rises up against America due to what will take place. I think he forgets that the world cannot do without America. Having full-on embargoes on American goods and services would be a disaster in most of the world. We have the world's largest economy. If they cut us off, they cut off their markets too. No way Trump would allow them to embargo us without us returning the favor. We lead the world in tech, in foreign and military aid, and we are the leader of NATO and the only superpower left standing. But Breacher isn't done.
Concerning Trump's impending presidency, I'm going to make a controversial prediction because Trump's mass deportation plan is called Operation Aurora. He's going to deport at minimum 11 million people he says are illegal immigrants. I've seen that number as high as 30 million people, which will inevitably include legal immigrants that are too dark to be MAGA Americans because due process is hard and Trump needs constant instant gratification.
Here he is talking in another video where he starts talking about Operation Aurora. He tries to make his case purely on budget methods and cites a piece claiming the cost to be upwards of $315 billion. He then immediately goes with the top number, despite the fact that Trump is notorious for finding ways to lower costs and operations.
For the sake of this video, I'm ignoring all other factors and looking only at the cost. Trump has said that there is, quote, no price tag, unquote, on his plan, even though the American Immigration Council estimates it will cost at least $315 billion, roughly 4.6% of the entire U.S. federal budget, probably a lot more. Trump is a businessman. He wants to fill his cabinet with almost all corporate suits who put profit over people.
How are you feeling about that now, Breacher? He instead has been nominating many of his political allies in the House, Senate, and allies from his campaign, and even a former U.S. Army major to be his Secretary of Defense. Trump isn't there to hire a bunch of suits to be yes-men to him. He wants people he knows will take action on day one.
Which brings me to what's clawing at my brain about his plan. Speaking purely in business terms, what's cheaper? Spend over $315 billion to create detainment spaces, feed and clothe 11 to 30 million people, organize mass transport, risk U.S. planes and boats in hostile foreign territory, and possibly spark a hot conflict that will cost more money.
He then goes on to talk about dangers to American ships and planes when they try to deport these individuals from the country. The way he is speaking, you would think that foreign countries are planning on shooting at these vehicles to keep them from reaching their destinations. He even talks about it starting a war. Considering that the number one nationality in the U.S. illegally is Mexican, I can assure you that Mexico will not start a war with the U.S., nor will they fire at ships and planes carrying their people. This is beyond stupid here. He then goes on to say that Trump may not go with the deportation route, but instead might buy construction equipment and building materials to build literal concentration camps for illegal immigrants to handle the problem. He then says Trump will use these camps to target anyone he doesn't like. Never underestimate the left's ability to try and equate Trump to Hitler and the Nazis in plans for the future.
Or use eminent domain laws to seize thousands of acres of land, use a few thousand bulldozers the military already owns to dig tens of thousands of 10-foot deep football-sized pits, and build one-way roads and rail lines to those grounds. Yes, I'm insinuating exactly what you think I am. Before you think I'm going too far with that thought, we are talking about the same man who instructed his immigration to steal children from their parents at the border as a deterrent to immigrants. What's a better deterrent than telling people, if you come here, they'll never find your body? Once that machine is in place, he'll use it to get rid of political opponents, journalists, judges, American citizens who aren't pale enough.
There are leaps of faith in jumping to conclusions, but this is as bad as Evel Knievel trying to jump the Snake River Gorge in a rocket. I mean, come on, preacher. You claim that Trump will send citizens who aren't pale enough. The same Trump that waited until NBC called out Dr. Ben Carson's name at the 2016 debates when they neglected to introduce him. No other candidate did this. This video was still out there. Trump stood by his side as each candidate was introduced and walked past. The same Trump that had black men, Hispanics, and Muslims voting for him in larger numbers than any other Republican candidate in over 40 years. You may want to say all these things about Trump, but they never last to public scrutiny when people objectively look over the facts. I know I am not alone in saying all of this. We need to stop letting them call us names and force the left to see the facts. If they want to keep using identity politics, then we will keep winning. The woke ideology is a plainly losing campaign. If you are afraid to speak now, then follow this channel and others like it. Hit the like and subscribe button as well. The algorithm is heavily slanted to those as a way of pushing these messages out to others. Same with sharing this with others like you or who are on the fence. You are not alone. Become knowledgeable of the subjects. Knowledge is power. The fact that they keep trying to call it misinformation tells us we are on the right path. Remember that a free society lets ideas flow through, even bad ones. Those that want power for themselves try to hide ideas that are dangerous to their fragile hold on society. When both Hillary Clinton and John Kerry stated that misinformation was a problem and that social media companies should do more to stop false narratives, that should tell you the lengths they will to go. I am Colton Paxton, and this is Red Pill Media. We are here. You cannot erase us.